And the French.
Hello all, bonjour. Night to go, and this is me living with autism. Today, I was fired. Been doing security with the same company for over 3 years now. A lot of folks hear that I'm on the autistic spectrum, that I do security, and that gives them pause. And I can understand. There's a lot of folks that living on the autistic spectrum, security would not be a good choice. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of folks that you have to deal with on a regular basis, and not everyone on the autistic spectrum has the ability to cope with people and social interactions, much less enforce rules. Fortunately or unfortunately for me, I am capable at this job. What it comes down to is I am a stickler for the rules. Everyone obeys the same rules all the time. No ifs, ands, or buts. No nothing. You just, when there's rules, you obey them, assuming that one, the rules don't break the laws, and two, that the rules are reasonable. And most of them that do not break the law are reasonable, whether or not the individual thinks they are. And a lot of people don't realize that the law protects private property owners in maintaining the rules that they want to maintain. So I do this because it's generally a consistent job. Do the same thing over and over and over. Lots of stability. Works really well for me. I have a propensity to be a stickler for the rules. So that works. I have a propensity to treat everyone the same way, regardless of any kind of immutable characteristic, regardless of mutable characteristics, regardless of disability. So I don't care. Everyone obeys the same rules. Don't let me catch you being a thief or breaking a blatantly obvious rule. Vandalism, things like that. That's when I become intimidating. I don't see myself as intimidating, but I do understand it logically that people can find me intimidating. I mean, I'm 6'1" without the top hat. Day I was fired. I mentioned that. Over 3 years with this company. Well, it's not easy for me. I generally don't keep jobs longer than a year, maybe 2. And that's with a lot of help that I've had in learning to cope. Even before I knew I was on the autistic spectrum, I've only been diagnosed for 9-10 months. I've only found out that it was a possibility that I was in the spectrum for the past 3 years. So I had friends and family help me out with a lot of this stuff, learning over the years how to develop strategies to cope with me being me. It's still really difficult for me to maintain a job for more than a couple of years, though. It's just another statistic of my life. Been working with this company for a while. and I'd still highly recommend it to anyone who wants to do security. The company genuinely cares about its people. One of the owners and I have clashed a couple times of late, but he's always had my back. He's always looked out for me. And even though I'm not with the company anymore, he's still someone that if he ever asked me for help, I'd be right there. I'd do it. One problem that I have is that he brought, when I started having problems of late, he started bringing up everything I've ever done wrong. I don't think that's fair. That's not fair at all. Some things should be just done. When I first started working for the company, I messed up the bumper of one of the company cars, ran into a chunk of concrete. The most expensive part of that was replacing the airbag. My boss worked with me. We came up with a payment schedule and I got it taken care of. And at that time, got nothing but praise for being mature about how I handled the problem. I didn't try to hide anything. I told them right away when it happened. I worked with them right away to figure out how to get it paid for, and I handled everything. I was told how mature my handling of the situation was, and how much they greatly appreciated that integrity. Then, for almost 2 years, I was working for one specific property, and property management is difficult to get along with. Not gonna lie. When there hadn't been a problem in a while, they expected the security team to be lax on the rules, let people get away with stuff. And then when there was an incident, they would freak out about the incident, ask why we didn't prevent the incident, and expect us to enforce the rules and then some until things calmed down again. I didn't get along very well over there when things were good, and I was appreciated after an incident occurred, for most of the time. Eventually, the property had an organization lease out one of the areas, and there was a little bit of, what's the metaphor, headbutting between me personally and some of the staff at this new, and not so much the staff, it was some of their clientele. Had some of their clientele think that they could steal from the other businesses on the property. And I was on top of that a little too much because it wound up that one of their clientele had a doppelganger. Well, not a true doppelganger, but they looked close enough alike that I had a case of mistaken identity because I treated someone poorly that didn't deserve it. I accepted responsibility in this instance. I wrote a letter of apology and accepted responsibility. I was asked to leave that facility. And my bosses were more than happy to take me off of that post because, as a level 3 officer able to carry a firearm, they had much higher paying and locations for me that they needed manned. I didn't accept those positions previously because it was a little bit more chaotic. At the facility that I was at for almost 2 years, the same thing day in and day out. I had a set amount of responsibility. I was able to execute my duties well, and things progressed quite well. It wasn't as high paying as some of the other posts, but it gave me stability and it gave me the specific amount of hours that I needed every week. When you're on the autistic spectrum, having stability and structure is very important, exceedingly important. And so that's why I did that, even though I had the opportunity for more money elsewhere. I maintained that position. And from there, I looked after cell phones. Also, a medical condition that I have is that if I am not eating correctly and sleeping correctly, I can very quickly fall asleep in the middle of the day. Generally, I maintain my health in a way to prevent that. And about, what is it, 7 months now ago, I wasn't doing so well. And that caught up with me at work. And you can imagine how well that went. So I immediately went to my doctor. I immediately handled it, and I have not had a problem with that since. That's still a very, very, very serious issue. I'm extremely embarrassed that it happened, but it's a learning experience. When you make a mistake, you learn from it and you move forward and you do better. And I did. A little over a month ago, I had another mistake. And this time, I someone had asked a question, and the way I answered it, it's perceived that I ran off customer. I ran off a customer. Yeah, no. I answered a question. And the result of that question caused the customer to drop what they were doing and react to what I said because it was a priority. But I was running off their customer. And so I stopped working there. It's difficult. I can understand the perception, but it's far from the reality. So not being able to work on that major contract very, very strictly narrowed where I could work. Then we had another contract, and at this contract, we're supposed to sign in and take pictures that we signed in. I misunderstood several aspects of this, including how important it was that the manager on duty signed that I was indeed there when I said I was. It's not my job to babysit the manager. I let the manager know that I had signed out the paperwork, and I'd asked the manager to uphold their end. I said, yes, sure, they would, but I didn't verify. I took pictures of what I had done. I didn't take pictures of what the manager had done. And it came around and caused me to lose my job. And then having my phone out on duty, there's a lot of things that we do on our phone, take pictures, record, we stay in touch. I stay in touch with my family, I stay in touch with my coworkers about what's going on and where they're at. There's a great deal of information that's passed on our phones. So, again, perception. People don't ask what I'm doing on my phone. They have the perception that I'm on my phone, therefore I must not be doing my job. Someone's on their phone watching YouTube and it's a busy parking lot that they're supposed to be watching, then they're not doing their job. If you're dealing with a hectic situation where there's a lot of faces and you have 400 people to look out for, you need to have those photos ready and on hand in case one of those people come back and cause problems again. But I'm not doing my job. It's all about perception. What I need is the Google glasses that they had. And then I could just have the pictures, having the slideshow the pictures in my field of vision, but still doing my job in a way that's obvious to everyone. But that died. That's not a real thing. And then my boss told me that I've been making excuses. Perhaps it's a neurotypical thing, but I do things for a reason, and I try to explain those reasons. And for people who cannot understand that, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I've heard that all my life. I heard it in the military. I heard it from my mother. I heard it from her ex husband. I've heard it from God and everyone that they don't want to hear my excuses. I don't do excuses. There's a reason behind everything that I do. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to tell you. This is how my brain works. This is how I function. I'm trying to explain that so that we have an understanding. There are certain things that being on the autistic spectrum, it's a superpower. There's memes about it. One of my favorites is autism, the ability to see the needle before noticing a haystack. It's things like that I'm really good at. Give me a spatial problem, engineering issue, and I'm there. Why I want to go to school for gunsmithing. I love firearms. I'm capable with firearms. I'm also got an eye for engineering. I just need the resources and the time and the training. Got some of it from the military, enough to whet my appetite, but I've not had any resources to get by to pursue these things. Hoping that I can here soon. Not easy. So not easy. I want to explain why I am the way I am, why my life is the way it is. And I hope that my son can watch these when he's old enough to understand, when he's developed enough to understand. Because he's on the spectrum as well. And he is saving my life. And I do this because I hope that other folks on the spectrum can look at this and go, that's what I live with. That's what I see. Or at the very least, it's close enough. This isn't an easy life. What I wouldn't give to be able to understand people. I wouldn't give up being autistic. That's for damn sure. There's too many perks to this. But the detriment of the interpersonal communication difficulties. It's not easy. Not easy at all. I need to find work. In the meantime, I'm going to vent about life and what my perception of everything is. Thank you for watching. I know I do a lot of video games, particularly MechWarrior / Battletech stuff. My biggest interest. Being able to communicate and being understood, that's also extremely important to me. So I'm going to do more of these. Au revoir, and thank you for watching.
And the French.